You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Welcome all and welcome in. We are back for the end of week 9 or nearly week 9. Only one more game to go with Dallas and Cardinals tomorrow to close out the week. But what a week it's been. Monday, the 3rd of November, our review and recovery show from a SuperCoach lens. And there's going to be a whole lot of recovery after this week, I think, Secko. I mean, how have you been feeling? You were saying you didn't, you're catching up on some matchups. I think the number one thing for you, which was probably hurting you the most, Tucker Kraft looks to feared an ACL injury, looks to be done for the year.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I was away camping over the weekend and got back today, but I was busy doing stuff, so I didn't see a lot. And what I did see was a notification from your good self there saying that Tucker Kraft has an injury. He's left the game, and I thought, oh, this is going to be bad, isn't it? Just after I was sort of spruiking for the 100th time, everyone else was finally on board with the fact that he was, potentially the best, if not the top 3 tight end option for the year. Now it's all gone. So, and I just bought him into SuperCoach as well, just to rub it in. Even though I tried put it off for 8 weeks, and the curse.
Yeah, that's tough. And, I'm kind of in that same boat. I was lucky to cash in on the big point, but before that injury, that's just, absolutely hate to see it. We will get into injuries a little bit shortly, but it's just, you absolutely hate to see. But this week, it kind of feels like another down week too, Secko, in terms of SuperCoach scoring. I was looking at our Unlimited League. I think I saw a 580, and that was with everybody played. So that kind of looks to be the top that I've seen so far. What do you kind of think from an overall with this week? It just seems like, not a lot of bright spots and a lot more negativity in week 9.
Yeah, it's sort of one of the weeks where everyone that went big seemed to be a lesser owned person. So it'd be good to talk through some of them and sort of see if they're relevant for SuperCoach going forward. But a lot of the high owned guys like JT didn't do anything where he's done something every single week pretty much this year. Bijan, same story, sort of second bell in a row. So some of the higher owned guys, and Mahomes as well, who's become quite a high owned quarterback, sort of let themselves down a little bit. So the scores are just sort of depressed a bit rather than all 4 of those hitting in the 60s. They have been.
Joe Flacco, a name that we will be touching on in our Heroes and Heartbreakers, but just under 0.5% owned, and he was 4th on the week overall. Just gives you a little bit of a taste to come and an outlay of how the week kind of went so far. I will just ask Secko before we get into the injury updates. We do have the trade deadline ending off for Tuesday over in the States this week, so we'll have everything all finalized for us Wednesday morning. Do you feel like with these injuries that have happened that it'll shake up the trade deadline? Are you expecting a lot to come through, or do you think it'll be a bit of a letdown spot?
I think it's always a letdown spot, unfortunately. But Jaden Daniels being out for the year, they're 3-6, so maybe I think there's a chance that they'll just let it go. Mariota's sort of done enough when he's been in, and just see how it plays out. But with him out for the season, they're probably their playoff hopes are probably lower than they were last week. So, and then you've got obviously Kraft. Musgrave is not even close to what Kraft is, but he's a warm body. So, and they don't really need more receiver help. This will be probably a boost for the other guys there in Green Bay. But it's one of those things. It always sort of it gets built up, and all of a sudden, Tuesday American time comes around, and it's like, John Mechie gets traded, and you're like, okay, great.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't really satisfy what we want. But we'll see. Let's hope.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to sum it up. Wishful thinking. Let's hope for the best, but just get ready to be disappointed, like we were this week with all the injuries. So we will get into our injury updates after most of the games of week 9. So we touched on Tucker Kraft, feared ACL tear. Again, it is to be 100% confirmed, but everything is reporting to that ACL tear. He'll be done for the year. You did say Luke Musgrave coming in. Secko might be a nice little option. I believe the Packers did draft him around earlier than they did Tucker Kraft when he came out in his rookie year, and Musgrave was seen more so as the pass-catching option there. I know it's definitely not on the same level as Tucker Kraft, but a little teaser into our waiver wire show. How do you feel about Musgrave's outlook to fill in that spot?
Yeah, look, he was drafted before, and they sort of figured out. I think it was about week 3 of their rookie year. Kraft was already beating him for snaps, and then he just sort of kept going up. And like Musgrave's shown a little bit here and there, so there's a chance. I just don't think we're not putting him in a fantasy startable discussion piece. I don't think until we see it a few times, but I just don't think it's really something we're going to go to as a collective. Other than I don't know his price off the top of my head, but I'm assuming he's quite cheap for SuperCoach, so maybe a downgrade if you've got someone who's going on buy, or if you have multiple injuries now there's injuries. If you have Wallace still and Kraft and whoever, he's actually basement price, Musgrave. So he may be viable as just as a playing 3.6 million guy.
And Jaden Daniels, you touched on the quarterback for the Commanders, dislocated elbow. I think there was 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and he was still out there. Again, there's a lot of question marks going around that decision at the end, but you just can't predict these injuries. And it looked bad. Like as soon as he kind of went down, I could see something sticking out, and I'm like, that is not meant to look like that. So straight away, he was in a cast. Everybody was kneed down around him. You absolutely hate to see it, Secko. And in turn, Luke McCaffrey, the wide receiver, he got ruled out early in the first quarter. For him, he was a second-year guy kind of looking to emerge through. Terry McLaurin was still ruled out for this game, and it still looks like he might be a week or two away. But with Commanders moving forward, you touched on they might just look to sell up shop, maybe get rid of their veteran guys if they can, and probably play towards the future. But, yeah, you absolutely hate to see Jaden Daniels going down in that way.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks for them. It sucks for the weapons. I've got a few of them. I've traded for a few of them with the hope or the excitement of Jaden Daniels being back and that ship really running well with Debo and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. So it looks like they're just sort of a little bit dead, to be honest. Which sucks. And Terry's probably going to have longer off. He may even be a really weird surprise trade candidate. I know they paid him, but he hasn't really been on the park. I doubt anything happens there, but it's a bit of an avoid for fantasy at the moment as an entirety.
Yeah, I'll be looking to clear out Commanders players if you can get a decent cost for them. CJ Stroud, quarterback for the Texans, he left early in the first half with a concussion and didn't return. We got to see Davis Mills fill in for that one. That was actually one game, the Broncos-Texans, I barely watched. I knew it was going to be a defensive onslaught. Did not really care for it. Another concussion that we had in a player that was ruled out, Cole Kmet for the Chicago Bears tight end. He was ruled out with a concussion. And one guy stood up in a big way, which we will get to coming up. Matthew Golden, shoulder injury. He was ruled out again. So a lot of injuries smacking that Packers pass catches there. Brian Thomas Jr., Secko. Now, I know you missed a little bit with camping this weekend, but I know dealing with an ankle injury, he didn't return at the back end of this game, and they needed him at the back. Travis Hunter's already gone. I mean, we saw Parker Washington emerge in this. I mean, Parker Washington, 8 for 90. If you picked him up off waivers, you'd be absolutely laughing. But 3 for 55 from BTJ. How do you feel about that ankle injury? Is it still, again, early on in the week? We'll have to wait and see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's early. It may have been precautionary somewhat as well. You don't want to risk more damage, but yeah, Parker Washington he definitely was picked up in a few leagues I saw when Hunter went down as that clear number 2 option. And he really is the clear. I mean, Dummy Brown was in there. He had 7 targets, but he had 25 yards. There's no one else really behind that. So it's definitely Parker Washington for the foreseeable. If Thomas is out, I mean, I don't know who they're playing next week, but Trevor's not playing as bad as he sort of has in the past. He seems to like Washington when he's up in the pecking order a bit. So they got Houston, all right. So shut that down.
Yeah,
could enjoy that. But,
steer clear.
He's still an option. If watch BTJ, but we'll learn more. Ankles either nothing or can be a 2 or 3 weeker. So we'll find out more on Thursday.
And a couple of other ones that happened mid-game. Keyshawn Booty, Mav's old booty man, he's dealt with a hamstring injury, did not return in that one, which you hate to see. Probably looking like a multiple week, probably that 3-week side, but we'll wait and find out later on. Aaron Jones, running back for the Vikings, came back in his start with JJ McCarthy. He looked really good. Looked like he was, a great resource for JJ McCarthy there, but he's dealing with that AC joint sprain in his shoulder. Again, we will monitor that throughout the week to see how that goes. T. Higgins left in the game, the final drive with an injury. That's up in the air as well. We'll have to wait and see. Puka Nacua, Secko, the last guy that we have here, he did leave. I think it was the third quarter, chest, rib area, just took a massive shot. I don't believe he came back in, but they were absolutely routing the Saints at that point. So, yeah, how do you feel with Puka? You're not too concerned with him moving forward? And then any of those other guys that stick out to you from week 9?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to know with Puka because of the state of the game. That's always a hard pit when there's a sort of a blowout, whether they could have come back in if they needed to or not. He's fairly tough by all accounts as well, so I don't think he'll sit out with a sore rib. T. Higgins, yeah, TBD had a massive game. Really, Jamar Chase. he had a very Jamar stat line there. And Flacco's just, Flacco, even with a bung shoulder, he's still firing it, but he sort of has to. So hopefully, I mean, if he's out, not that you need any more green lights for Chase, but there's that. There's no third option as well. It's not clear at all who's behind those two, which is what we love about them for fantasy. But and SuperCoach, but it's sort of just like who could it be behind those two, and we'll find out. I'm just trying to get the box score up to see if there's anyone who did anything. Yoshivas got a little bit, 1 for 66. It's outside him nothing, all tight ends. But I still can't ever trust Yoshivas to do anything regularly. And then Aaron Jones was clearly like Mason. Mason would have been completely irrelevant and dead for all fantasy based off that first 3/4 of what I saw in terms of just play and stats. I was following that game a bit. I was in one of my lulls of the morning when I wasn't doing much. And then if he's out for more time, it sort of gives Mason a reprieve. And with JJ, look, moving the ball, right? Yeah, there's an option that probably didn't exist with Wentz, which is funny. We didn't really think that. Some of us didn't think that a week ago, that JJ might be an upgrade for the offense.
Well, he's looking quite dry this week and moving forward. Old wet sock McCarthy. Yeah, we love to see it. Love to see Mav's reaction when we speak on that in Wednesday's trade show. That's going to be a good one. And good thing for the Bengals and T. Higgins and Flacco, they're on the bye in week 10, so they've got some time to recover. But they're all of the injuries that we really have news and updates on so far. We'll probably touch on injuries again on Thursday's show as we close out. We might, if we've got updates on tomorrow's waiver, we'll go through them as well. But that's all the injuries. Hopefully no more in the final game of the week tomorrow. Heroes. Secko, we'll jump into here. So we'll be, going through the top 5 in each position, having a bit of discussion on, if this is a blip in the radar, can we expect this moving forward? Just general outlook moving forward. But a couple of big names, starting off with the quarterback position, and in SuperCoach scoring, Caleb Williams led everybody this week. 74 points, or he tied with a tight end, but we'll get to him later. 74 points on the week. He will make about 600 grand and head up to just over 18 million in that one. I mean, with this matchup, Secko, this was just the prime time for Caleb Williams. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 53 yards on the ground as well, 280 passing yards. This was just his spot. I think he even caught a touchdown as well from DJ Moore. So he got a little bit of everything in this game, but up against the Bengals, that is a spot to try these things. How do you feel about Caleb? Is this just like a 1 week lull because of the matchup, how much of a smash spot it was, or can you expect a little bit more of this moving forward?
It's really hard to call. I mean, this is what we spruiked Caleb Williams 3 weeks ago for this very reason. We just thought that he'd have a couple of mid-40s against the Saints and whoever they played last week. It didn't happen, but yeah, this is the smash spot. And they had to. It was close, and Flacco kept getting them back. So Caleb had to keep doing things. It's the best thing you want in any fantasy situation, having to keep coming back and keep doing it. Not being able to take drives off, not being able to hand off the entire drive, having to push it down the field. So he actually caught 2 passes as well, which is phenomenal. Not once, but twice. Benny Johnson got him involved, and 553 on the ground as well. It's just the perfect SuperCoach game. because you don't need accuracy. 20 for 34 doesn't matter. You don't get points off for being accurate. He just dominated. But again, it's not going to be easy like this every week, and it's more of a reminder to look ahead to who's got the Bengals in the last 6 rounds after their bye, 6 weeks after their bye.
Yeah, an absolute smash matchup for this one. I think the Bengals recovered an onside kick too, which was the first time this season or something like that. Or yeah, it's just absolutely phenomenal which this game was. 47-42. Joe Flacco in turn was the second top scorer. He's only a 0.5% owned, but he'll go up to 20 mil. Not too much to discuss there. 65 points, 470 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Old man Joe just getting it done there. Justin Herbert in third on 57 points. It was surprising how close this one was with the Titans. I think the Titans defense did a lot more than what we were expecting. He'll make a couple of mil this week, Justin Herbert, and he's got his bye coming up. But how do you feel, Secko, with this one? I know it was a little bit like the running game didn't really do too much in this one, which led to Herbert going off. But a couple of back-to-back weeks in the 50s, you'd be feeling pretty good if you've got him on your lineup.
Yeah, we highlighted him last week. I think it might have been me or Mav, one of us, about pods when we had a pod call on the trade show. And yes, it wasn't necessarily something high on the list, but highlighted Herbert as a pod, and it's 3 straight 50s now, 59, 52, 57. And yeah, like the running. Look, Kamani Vidal was one of my starts of the week. I thought they would be very heavy on the run game. Tennessee took it up to them. It's great that happens because it sort of brings everyone up, and that Chargers team. Herbert's in just career best form. He's showing he's probably in the top 5 real life quarterbacks, and he's fast becoming a top 5 fantasy quarterback. So I couldn't be happier. No one really starred, which is also good for them. Receiver wise, they all sort of just had a bit of a day. But it was Herbert who did the damage.
Coming in fourth, the reigning MVP, and just always has the Chiefs numbers in the regular season. I just hope that it can translate into the playoffs. But Josh Allen, 56 points. He'll make about 100K. So if you didn't bring him in last week, no real harm in this week. You're not really, getting a massive price rise in that one. Jackson Dart, him and Stafford went off for 54 points each. Dart just keeps making money. I mean, he'll make just under 3 mil on this week. Stafford himself will make 500,000. How do you feel about Dart moving forward, Secko? I know we were kind of talking about it beforehand in this one. He just keeps getting it done with absolutely no weapons. I mean, he's just like, I think he's fantasy and SuperCoach proof at this point. But if you're holding on to Dart before his bye, I mean, you're just absolutely rolling in cash this week.
Yeah, it's a bit of it. I mean, it's great. It's I traded him this week, just gone. But I traded JJ who made more money. So his break even is going to be 19 next week. So he'll keep making money. If you've got Dart, you can start him. I sort of said you don't want to start him all year, and I mean, you still don't want to start him all year. He's not going to keep scoring in the 50s every week, but while it's still going, I hope he does because I'm starting him in a league, in a fantasy league. So ideally he keeps going, but yeah, you want to look for options. Now he's up to, what is he up to, 19 mil? Did I read that right? Yeah,
Yep,
19.56 mil. Yeah, so but you'll be well over 20, up to 21 almost, maybe, probably 20 and a half next week if you keep him one more week. To go to Mahomes, there's an option there. And Mahomes will have lost money this week as well. So you're getting a little bit closer to paying less money with one more week of Dart. So it might work out. And Lamar's in the similar kind of boat. So if you've got Dart, keep him. If you've got off him, don't be too stressed as long as you're into JJ because he's making more money for you.
And on Lamar, Secko, while you mentioned it, so he didn't make the top 5 this week, but he was just below 50 points in his return against Miami, throwing for 4 touchdowns. Looked really good. You could definitely tell he wasn't willing to take off on the ground as much as what he normally would want to. He was a bit hesitant there, but yeah, good to get through the week without an injury. But he would have lost 1.6 million for this week coming up, 27.5 or just under 27.5. My kind of plan heading into this week was I'll roll with Mahomes. I wish that I just got rid of him early because he sucks. It was a bit of a letdown spot. But Lamar, if you did hold off bringing him in this week, you're getting him at a bit of a discount. his matchups moving forward are just absolute smash spots. I mean, is he one that you're going to be bringing in your side this week?
Yeah, I've got May. I've got May and Allen. So
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I may do it, pun intended, but only because he's lost another weapon now. Drake May's been amazing. Um, but I feel like Lamar didn't play well at all on Thursday night, coming back from a 3-week absence or 4-week absence. Um, he looked fine. He ran as he normally does. He moved around well. Like 50 is going to be a pretty reasonable kind of floor type area for him. So, whereas Drake's doing well and scoring in the in the low 50s. So, I just think you're probably right. Probably going to go this week, May to Jackson and see what happens. His break even is, I think it should be about, 50 odd. So you won't get much cheaper from what from what I looked up before.
It's a good move to make. And JJ McCarthy, if you did opt into a cheap option, or you are hanging on to him since his injuries, I know he's just been in my bench quarterback spot for these last 6 or so weeks, but produced the goods, 2 touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground, did throw an interception, only 140 yards, but still produced 439 SuperCoach points, and he'll nearly double his cost, or he will. I think he'll make 3.6 million this week. So again, you're super pumped if you did bring in JJ McCarthy. I'm sure he will get a lot of screen time on Wednesday night show when all 3 of us are back on deck. Moving on to the running backs, Secko, we'll just jump straight into it. CMC, after his lull from last week, just keeps producing the goods, reminds us that, this last week is definitely an outlier. He's just consistently so good. 63 points. He'll make $1 million himself, buy in a few weeks' time. Absolutely love to see it. Can you expect anything less from CMC? I mean, he does it all.
So he's always done this. If he has one bad game, it seems like the next one is always big. Like he very, very. I can't remember any time he's ever put 2 stinkers together again, together in a back-to-back game. So yeah, look, he's just back to where he was. He had 70 the week before the last week's bad one I was just mentioning. So you can expect it. I wouldn't be trading him out when his bike comes either. Figure it out, find a way. Hopefully, you hung on to Ashton Genty. He's definitely usable. Or you got someone who's going to be usable on that week to play in your RB4 slot. But yeah, I just don't see a world where you'd want to get rid of him. He's the guy who can score 50 plus without really doing that much amazing. So it was amazing, but he doesn't have to do anything crazy to score to score well. And even when they're doing it easy, he still sort of scores and get 28 carries again. He just gets so much work. He's a bit of a fantasy cheat code at the minute.
And he was one of our vice captain options too that we threw out on last week's captain's huddle. I was fortunate enough to listen to our advice on that one. I rolled the VC with CMC, which was nice to have that all locked in and forget with a 63. The next 2 guys on our list, Rico Dowdle, 54 points. He is looking to be the clear number 1 now in that Panthers backfield. There was that Chuba Hubbard kind of situation where Chuba came off from injury and Rico stepped in and just produced massively in those 2 games, but very low percent owned, I believe Rico Dowdle is. I did over here, 2.3%, not a lot of people, just over 700. Wouldn't be expecting too much, but Cole Monongai moving forward, he was a nice cheapie that people picked up either this week or a couple of weeks ago, putting up 42 points. That's number 3 on the running backs this week. Just over 1,000 people owned. He's going to make a whole heap of cash. I think there's, he'll make 2.3 million this week. He'll jump up. So you absolutely love that. These 2 options, Secko, do you think Coleman on guy down the stretch? Because, looking at it, the roster percentages, he might be able to fill in for maybe when those CMCs or even JTs buys. Like, would he be an adequate kind of spot, or would you still be looking to bring in a more solid option to cover those weeks?
So if you had him before, he can be an option. The problem is Swift's going to be back. I just don't think they're going to boycott. They're not going to step away from him, unfortunately. So it's almost like if you've got him, he can work. He could definitely work in week 14, and he could be the lead back. Could be the goal. He should be the goal line back if they're. I don't know where they're playing, but if they're going well, he's an option. But going back to Rico, Canellis came out and sort of hinted that he'd get all the work, and he got all the work. So if you got him in any sort of capacity early doors, um, he he looks set to be the guy. And the way they run it, they're pretty bad with passing the ball and taking snaps. So they're happy to just run him. So he's a good get, but he's 17 mil. So you either got him or you got him and maybe hanging on to him as an RB5 type, or you're just sort of moving on.
I just can't get over the monster weeks for those guys. Rico, 25 carries, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Coleman Ongai without DeAndre Swift, 26 carries for 176 yards. And I think he added 22 through the air as well. So, yeah, it's absolutely B scores. A guy here that's coming in fourth, Josh Jacobs, didn't really get a lot of work. 17 for 87. What did he have? 4 for 13. So still 20-odd touches. It surprising, I guess, coming off that calf injury. You know, it just looks to show that he's healthier. Pretty surprising that the Packers lost at home to the Panthers. Something must have just been written in the stars with that one. But Josh Jacobs, he does look good, getting touchdowns for fun still. And without Tucker Kraft, we can expect him to be a whole lot more involved moving forward. But the last guys on this list, Secko, a couple of guys that tied, Kyron Williams for the Rams and Ashton Genty, both tied with 34 points. How do you feel about these guys? I know you were saying Genty, if you held into him, you're pretty happy with the start, but Kyron on the other turn, it took a long time in this game for him to kind of produce in fantasy and SuperCoach. All the touchdowns were just going to Devontae Adams and the pass catches early with Stafford. Being the Rams man of the podcast, how do you feel about that? Is that just like it feels like a bit of a trend lately? They want to throw these touchdowns early instead of running them in. How do you kind of find that moving forward?
Yeah, he really did do most of his work late. And even there was drives where Corum was getting all the work. Corum ended up having 13 carries, and it wasn't all junk time. Kyron came back in afterwards. So, and this is sort of third quarter. The game was over by by all means, but it wasn't like they put Kyron on the shelf and Corum ran the game out. He was actually getting shared carries for a while there. But yeah, look, 25, 114, 1. It's probably about as bad as Kyron could have had today, given the opponent. Um, And yeah, I mean, I don't think he's a super coach guy. Really think he was ever that. I feel like he was always a little bit too high priced and wasn't really performing to ever be someone to jump onto. So probably wasn't high started, and he wasn't. And there was a buy in there as well. And but yeah, if you do have him, he's definitely a top 10 running back option. It's just he may lose some work, and he's not always going to get the touchdowns. So sort of a little bit capped. And whereas Genty is the entire offense. Even I mean, him and Bowers back is going to do wonders for him. I think I might have said it last week or the week before. Um, it it's so hard to be a dominant runner when when you're the only offense. They know what's going to come. So Genty's unfortunately been a little bit hampered by just being the only guy, and yeah, there's a chance he's sort of back to sort of not where he was drafted, but RB1, 2 level, which for your RB5 slot, which is where he's in currently in my team, is perfect. He can fill in if there's an injury, you know, whatever you need. He's sort of a good option to fill in if you need an emergency happens.
It's great to see because that Raiders offense for 8 weeks of the year was absolutely putrid. And now Brock Bowers back on deck and healthy. It just opened everything up. Yeah, absolutely love to see it. Things you also love to see, Trey Henderson getting some work. I think this was his top score on the year as well so far. He put up 21 points. Still 38% of people owned Henderson. Oh, no, the second top score, he had 22 in week 4 against Carolina. But he got most of the work in this one. Still not as much as what we are probably hoping for. Terrell Jennings still had a quite amount of touches. But Trevor Henderson, 14 to 55, 4 for 32 through the air, which you like to see. But Terrell Jennings had 12 touches himself. So, Secko, we did have Ramondre out this week. I believe he is dealing with a turf toe, so he still might miss a couple of weeks. And with their bye in week 14, they might kind of, plot along until then. But signs of life for Trey Henderson. It's only taken 9 weeks, but how do you feel about him moving forward?
Yeah, I've been holding the faith. He's still in my Supercoach team. So yeah,
Same.
it's encouraging. They're not going to play him as a bell cow. That's fine. But what he did get was 14 of the 25 carries. That's great. He got 6 targets. That's great. But for Supercoach and fantasy, that's going to get you a pretty safe floor and spike weeks. If he gets in the end zone just once, one of those times, and he scores, was that 33? It's very different. He's up in Genty and Williams sort of tier. So, but no, it's positive signs. I think when Ramondre's back, we'll see that Hendo stays in a bit more and Jennings sort of gets pulled out and it's a bit more of a 50-50 backfield. So, with all the passing work going to one guy, which is great for fantasy.
Wide receivers, Drake London topping this list, a massive 68 points. And I think on last Wednesday's trade show, we had a bit of a scenario. It was Puka, JSN, Nico Collins, and Drake London. I think we all had Drake London at the bottom of that list. And of course, just as the SuperCoach gods are listening, they decide to line him up for a monster week. But he was everything for this offense. Bijan was a letdown. We'll get to him later in the Heartbreakers, but 3 touchdowns for Drake London. Penix still doesn't really look that good, but if he's just force-feeding London everything, and in a matchup where we thought might have been a little bit tough with Gonzalez on the other side of the ball for the Pats, you absolutely love to see it. Secko, how are you feeling about Drake London moving forward?
Yeah, I feel like it's going to happen at least one more time, but probably only one more time, which is the hard part. So more often than not, he's had yardage totals of 55, 49, 55, then 110, 158, and then 42, and then 118. This time 3 touchdowns. So he's only had 5 on the season and 3 of them today. So it's just Penix is hard. I think the week off did him really well by the look of it. And the offense is just they're a better team when London is on and getting all the work. Like Mooney had 2 targets today, great. Pitts can get his 7, that's awesome. But 14 of the what is it? I'm going to say 37 is just perfect. Exactly what we want from him. If you held him through that sort of rough period and the out last week, if you were sort of forced to hold somewhere, wanted to get rid of him, didn't have a fourth trade left, or to use. He's going to have these games. He's going to make some money now as well, which is good. So you can still off him if you wanted to Rice Lamb. There's someone else I think in the week 10 buy, but can't think who it is right now. But after next week, you now have some money to be able to go straight across rather than if you had a bad game today, you probably had to go up, 2 or 3 mil. So it's a positive there, but the points are the most positive thing for SuperCoach.
Good signs to see, and just over 20% of owners would be very happy with that outcome. T. Higgins, 59 points, second on this list. He is only owned by 1.7%, just over 500 people on this one here, but he was the lead. 7 for 121 and 2 scores in this game. Just an absolute beast. Devontae Adams and DJ Moore coming in third, tying on 41 points. Devontae, he doesn't get a lot of work, but the work that he does get are just touchdowns. I feel like he's just an absolute guarantee at this point. DJ Moore, surprising to get that work too, but again, in a smash matchup and when you're throwing a touchdown pass to Caleb Williams, that definitely helps. I'll also loop in Puka in with these. He came in 4th at 38 points. So even still with that injury, we're a little bit skeptical to see whether or not he would get a lot of work in this one. We thought they'd just absolutely run out to a massive lead, which they did, but they did it all with the core guys and Devontae and Kyron before that happened. So Secko, as a Rams man, you'd be pretty happy with that win. But how do you feel about these trios? Any guy kind of stick out as a sore thumb? I guess a blip for our weeks to come.
DJ Moore was a blip. He also ran one in. He ran one in and threw one in, but couldn't get a receiving touchdown. He only had 4 catches as well. Rome Dunze, we probably won't even talk about because I think it was DMP. He might miss out, but it was a weird game. Bengals games are weird games. It's the one thing is that anyone can get in if you've got someone on your bench and they're playing the Bengals. It might be a little sneaky chance to put them on over someone else. It might sound really weird, but it's worth considering because strange things happen, especially in the traditional lens. But no, Devontae Puka, Matt Stafford's playing the best football of his life almost, and he's 38 soon. So when he wins his second Super Bowl, he'll be 38. So that's again, they're a very concentrated team. There's not much else happening in LA for Stafford. It's 2 guys and then a handoff. So it's pretty perfect for fantasy.
Yeah, it's great to see him throwing the ball when they're within the 5-2. Yeah, I'd love to see that. That's what Joey Burrow always does as well when he's out there healthy. Torrey Horton, another massive blip on the radar here, 37 points, coming in 5th on the week so far. A little cheap option for the Seattle Seahawks. He had 2 touchdowns early in this game. That is a blip. I believe Cooper Kupp was out in this one as well. So take that one with a grain of salt. But JSN, he made the cut for the back end here, 35 points. He does it all. Doesn't matter the matchup. He's just set and forget, gets so much work. Him and Darnold is just super connected. And Rashee Rice for the Chiefs, even though in a devastating loss for the Chiefs, Rashee Rice still consistent, 33 points. I think he had 9 for 90 or 6 for 90 or something like that in this game. I wasn't even paying attention to the Chiefs. So I was just like,
He had some rushing. He had some rushing yards in there as well. I think it might have been 8 for 80 or something like that. Oh no, 4 for
I
80.
see.
There
Yeah,
you go. Not as much
and
targets, but
and rushing in a touchdown there. But they use him everywhere at Secko. And with Rashee Rice, he is on bye this week. I was considering, do I bring in Rashee Rice or Amon-Ra, but I just had too many guys on next week, so I couldn't really get it done. It's devastating, but I mean, he could be an ad to bring in. I think he's just rest of season after the bye. He's just going to be so solid. It'll be hard to ignore.
Yeah, 100%. I put a Twitter poll up on Saturday, maybe Friday. Morning Friday night. And it was, who would you have rest of the season, in a half PPR? So it translates between SuperCoach. SuperCoach is a half PPR format as well. And it was Chase, Amon-Ra, Lamb, and Rice. And Lamb got the most votes. Rice got the least votes, which obviously I did leave out Puka and JSN because they're my number 1 and 2. But this is essentially who's your third for SuperCoach is more what I was getting around. And I was a bit shocked. So Rice had like 12% of the vote, and I have him number 3. So it's a bit of a difference in opinion, bit of difference of where you see him. I just think he's super consistent, and he will have those massive blow ups because he's, as we said last week, I think they Andy Reid fabricates ways to get him involved, and whether it's rushing a touchdown in today or some screen works or sweeps and a whole bunch of stuff they do. Those little tip passes while he's in full motion. So yeah, he's a good buy next week. He's going to be 17.8. He's cheaper than JSN, Monra, same as Lamb, I imagine. Pretty similar. So there's definitely those after next week. There's those options on who you're going to get as your sort of 6th receiver, I think.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but yeah, he just looks good. Looks really good for the Chiefs.
Mm.
Tight ends. Return of Brock Bowers, finally. And what a return it was, 74 points. He went absolutely ballistic in this one. I'll just quickly pull up his stat line as well from the man Gino slinging the rock. But 13 targets, 12 catches for 127 yards and 3 touchdowns. This game did go into overtime. They did lose by 1 point at the back end to the Jags. But, I mean, he wasn't really doing too much up until that halfway point. But then coming out of the half, Gino just flipped the switch and it was all Brock Bowers. So for me, Tucker Kraft to him is one of the easiest trades I think you'll be able to make this week if you do have Kraft on hand. He did increase 1.8 million, still 13.7, but again, he is very close to that Kraft price. But yeah, Brock Bowers, Secko, I mean, finally after that injury, he's back healthy. He will be firing for the rest of the season.
It's hard to it's hard to believe that he was out that long and he came back and sort of made up probably about half of his total production that he would normally have in 1 week after all that missed time. But it's great. It's great for people who have held him. They're rewarded by not having to pay the 1.8. But I think a lot of people with Kraft will be getting him in. So and Warren's on bye the week after. So even the Warren holders probably have an option to go. You're going to lose a bit on Warren because he had a bad game, which we sort of foreshadowed a bit. He'd probably lose money for the first time all year. But yeah, Kraft actually makes hit a -14. So even though he got injured and only had a 6, he still makes, he's going to be more expensive than Bowers. So you're making money on the Crafted Bowers. Also, green light to do that. But yeah, look, it's good to have Brock Bowers back because he's just he showed why he was the best last year and why he was taken number 1 by most people this year.
Yeah, he's so good. And another guy that I have to loop in with that mention of being so good, Colston Loveland. Finally, a week early, the matchup was just way too good, and like the game script just played out perfectly for Loveland in this one. Again, I will just quickly have up his score here, but yeah, he just went ballistic. 6 for 118, 2 touchdowns. You love to see it. Of course, was a beneficiary of Cole Kmet going down early in this one with that concussion, but 53 points. If you did bring him in, he'll make you a cool 2.4 million moving forward. I will also loop in Dalton Kincaid for the Bills. Man, oh man, did the Bills need Dalton Kincaid to come back? He's their number one weapon on passing, makes a massive difference. He put up 38 points in this one. Will make you just over 700K, but Colson Loveland and Dalton Kincaid, Secko, I mean, Loveland, it's everything's pointing up.
Yeah. Yeah, big day for you, Mull. You two of your boys. Yeah, I mean, you've been beating the drum pretty hard for Loveland. It's good to have him. Good to have him there. I just dropped him the week before, or during the week. And guess who I have as my tight end? So really could have used Colston Loveland on my bench to fill in for Tucker Craft the rest of the year, but not to be. We'll see what happens there. But no, and Dalton Kincaid has looked amazing pretty much the whole time he's been in. He's had sort of one or two, okay games, but he's had some big ones. So needed by Josh Allen. Glad as a Josh Allen owner that Kincaid's there because outside of him, there's not much to write home about, unfortunately. They need to get someone in the next 48 hours.
Yeah, very surprised if they don't pick up the phones for a wide receiver. Need one badly. Sam Laporta has been pretty good lately, 6 for 97 and a score. Again, it's hard to predict that offense with the Lions. I mean, he only really got involved at the back end of the game, wasn't really doing anything beforehand. Amon-Ra, of course, 9 for 97, but Laporta, again, it's risky, but he's past the bye. You could do a whole lot worse. He will make a little bit of cash. And Mark Andrews made 30 points, won't make any money because his break even was so dirt, but him and Lamar back on track, looking really good. Kickers, Secko, I'll skim past these. Fairbairn for the Texans, 36 points. Cam Little broke the NFL record with 68-yard field goal in the regular season. Be great to see what Mav thinks about that on Wednesday. And then Pinheiro and Badgley for the 49ers and Colts putting up 24 points. You love to see that. Defenses, however, Titans, 40 points. They will never score this high ever again this season. That is just absolutely gobsmacking. The Steelers, we were kind of painting that this might be a bit of a tough spot for the Colts. Did not expect them to do that well against them, but Danny Dimes, just the turnovers just stuck up to him. But the Ravens, they were the only, I think, defensive team we were looking to bring in from last week. Massive 30 points against the Dolphins. And we were talking about this a little bit after their game, Secko, but they've got a very easy schedule coming up. They've got the Browns in there. They've got the Jets. I think this could be a good sign of things to come for that Ravens defense.
Yeah, 100%. And you've called it as well. This one for a while there. Mel, you've nailed it. They're getting healthier. They're past the bye. Their team is better now with Lamar back. It shouldn't always correlate, but it does because they're getting better. They get more time to rest as their offense is on the field a lot longer. So it's a good thing to remember. It's good to have a good defense on a good offense team as well. Let's get more chance to be more impactful when they come on. Yeah, big surprise Titans. It's just it's the one out of, you said it well. It's one out of the bag. They're not going to do it every week or most weeks. They've been a lot better. They've been better since they got they got Callahan out. They haven't won yet, but they've looked okay. And they've been better on defense to be frank, which is a good thing for them. It doesn't really do a lot, but they've looked a little bit better. They've played some really good teams, so they get a few easy ones coming home. They might have jag a win, but they're playing for a draft pick they can trade away. I would imagine.
Expect a whole heap of trades coming out of that camp too for the Titans. You think they're moving a lot of their older pieces. That is all of our heroes for week 9. We'll move on to Heartbreakers. We'll kind of run through these guys, I guess, a little bit quicker going through, and we'll see, if we are panicked about some of the big names or not. But starting off the quarterback, you hate to see it for SuperCoach and Fantasy. You love to see it more so on the screen, though, in real life. But Patrick Mahomes, down week, 23 points, under 50% completion rate. That was surprising. I thought the Bills defense was just going to be gash. They wouldn't be able to stop Mahomes, but they just had his number. They couldn't do anything there. 23 points heading into the bye. Secko, are you worried at all when it comes to the Mahomes, or is, you're probably looking to move him out anyhow with the bye coming up?
No, I think it's hard. If you got him, you sort of don't want to get rid of him because he's been so good. It's the Bills. It's in Bill Land, whatever they call that. I don't know what it's called. Buffalo.
Buffalo,
Is
yeah.
it in Buffalo or is it out of Buffalo? I don't know.
It's in Buffalo.
It's got a name. I can't think what it's called. What's the home ground called? You should know.
Yeah, I should know.
Remember? I don't know.
Oh, gee, no, I
It'll
can't
be a
even
name
think at the
anyway.
moment.
But that's all right. Look it up. The thing is, Mahomes didn't run as well, so I think it was just a good game plan. I think McDermott plans all year. They're 5-0 since Josh Allen's been playing in the regular season. You're gonna hate to hear that. They're 5-0, but they're 0-4 in playoffs. So it's sort of like it's just another thing. But they always seem to shut him down, and his percentage was terrible. Didn't throw a touchdown the first time in since it was 2022. I feel like it was 23. But yeah, don't worry about it. I think you probably can trade him. Hopefully, you can trade him out and then reconsider. But him to Lamar's pretty close. I'd probably do that.
Yep, that's what I'll be doing this week. Cam Ward, 12 points. Again, we're not too expecting too much with the Titans and him this year. That's just kind of, they're throwing at the year. CJ Stroud, 8 points. He did suffer the concussion. So if you did have him rostered, very unfortunate that you copped that. You'll probably be looking to move him out last week. And our mate Blue Ballers had in here, Highmark Stadium. That was definitely not the name that I had on my head for the Bills. Jordan Love, another one here, Secko, 19 points. And I think this is probably one that we need to be worried a bit more about moving forward. He's lost his number one weapon for the year. Matthew Golden, even though he's been pretty average, he'll probably miss a week or two with that shoulder. But Jordan Love, 19 points. How do you feel about him moving forward, especially with Tucker Kraft gone for the year?
It's hard. It's hard to know. He's had a really good patch, which sort of coincided with Kraft being sort of his best. But yeah, he's probably not relevant for SuperCoach in my opinion. It's hard because he's up and down. It still is Josh Jacobs now. He's sort of back to full fitness. It seems like it's more back to Josh Jacobs' team, and Jordan Love was doing a good job while he was recovering from that calf. In doing his bit. It's Orchard Park, by the way. Ballers is what I was thinking of. The name of the city, name of the town, and where the
Oh,
ball game is,
right.
where the ground is at. Orchard Park. Sorry, no one cares. It's the Bills. No one cares about the Bills. Jordan Love is probably an avoid for now.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And even in normal traditional fantasy, it's going to be hard to trust Jordan Love there with that Kraft. Running backs, we had a trio of disappointments from our considerable top five locked in rest of season. Bijan Robinson, 27 points. Again, this game, it was a tougher matchup up against the Patriots. We kind of called it to be this point. Again, 27, it's not the end of the world. It could be worse. It could have been a JT with 13 points or Jameer Gibbs with 8 points. And same thing with JT Secko. He wasn't a call for our vice captain option this week or even a straight captain on the captain's huddle because a down game was coming. He's been running too close to the sun the last few weeks, and the Steelers, all they've been able to stop this year is the run, and that's exactly what they did with JT. So how are you feeling about Bijan and JT and also Jameer Gibbs after this week? Again, are you panicking? Does one move out of your top five consideration after this week, or it's just kind of, you'll look to adjust in the near future?
It's tough. Bijan, I'm not going to say Bijan. I'm a panic on Bijan. Panic meter is pretty low, but I mean, luckily he got the catches again. Like he's getting saved a bit by his receiving work, which is why we love him so much and why he's so good. But yeah, his impact as a runner is something we need to probably be concerned about somewhat. JT's, we called it. I think we were pretty strong with don't put him as a C. It's not this game is sort of, and it's worked a lot with him. It's worked a lot with Allen and Mahomes and stuff, but it's not a set and forget captaincy kind of game. It's something you really want to look into the matchups and mostly avoid matchups where it's just going to cap their score really. And it's funny, JT won't lose much this week. His break even I think was the same as what it is. Maybe might lose a little bit. It's 14, 13. Is that right? But his break even's 66 next week. So and goes into a bye. So it's sort of one of those things where he's probably going to lose, let's say, around about 1.5 mil. And he'll be under 26 mil out of his buy. So if you did want to get him, you can probably start preparing some money with the chance you might get him for closer to 25 than 27, which would be amazing.
Next 5 weeks are tough too. Falcons, Chiefs, Texans, Jags, and Seahawks for JT. So probably some more negative, or not negative, but not as high scores on the way with those matchups. Jahmyr Gibbs was surprising. It just seemed like the Vikings just really wanted to put extra attention on Jahmyr Gibbs. The last, I think, 3 or so games, Gibbs has just absolutely torched these guys. I think the last game, week 18, he went ballistic for 3 touchdowns and everything, but he just couldn't do anything. 9 for 25 on the ground and 3 for 3 through the air. Kamani Vidal, Secko, we will touch on him quickly because he was a big addition. Not too good, 6 points. A lot of people brought him as a cash cow option with Hampton probably out until week 13, 14 area being on IR. But Kamani Vidal, are you panicked for him moving forward? This was meant to be a smash spot.
It's so funny. I was off him so hard. I found it so hard to buy in. He was a bit part guy. They bought Patterson in off the practice squad. They were talking about signing a veteran. I was like, no, this guy's just going to get 1 or 2 good games. He's going to get run over. And I finally bought in, made him start of the week, and he's just he's full pumpkin again. He's no good. It sucks. It sucks to be wrong. Luckily, I didn't bring him in. It's about the only positive from my lens, but some people did. But Patterson outperformed him almost. Yeah, they had almost the same amount of touches. Herbert was their leading rusher. It's against the Titans. Like, not many nice things to say about Vidal. They may bring Hampton back quicker. though. That's all I'm thinking. Is they kept saying he'd be out longer and longer, but Harbaugh said during the week, he's way better this week than he was last week. So I feel like Hampton's back in a week or two. They won't necessarily wait till after the bye, which I think is in week 13, week 12. He'll be back week 13. So it's really just made it clear to everyone that Hampton's fine when he's fine.
Yeah, we'll also tell some signs if they don't draft a running back before Wednesday. But Vidal gamble responsibly. But man, I had him anytime touchdown, a couple of spots, and that I shouldn't double dip like that. That serves me right.
Yeah.
James Cook and Devon Achane, not too horrid scores, but 25 and 26. Again, not as worse as what it could have been with Gibbs with 8 points. But again, we'll look to improve on next week's showing with both those guys. They should both be fine. Wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Amon-Ra St. Brown all going for around those 27 to 28 point spots there. Again, we're not too concerned, but with Jamar Chase heading onto the bye, Secko, is this one where you're playing that bye game, you're getting rid of him, and if you don't have Puka or JSN looking to bring in, but if you've already got those guys, I'll paint you a scenario for my team so I can get some early advice on Wednesday's trade show. I've got Puka, JSN, Amon-Ra, CD, Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. I mean, Chase and CD going by next week. Am I moving out Jamar Chase you can't bring in Rashid Rice. You can't really bring in like a cheapie. I mean, I've got Ted McMillan. Do I just slot him in there on the bye? To cover, or
I don't think there's anyone you want. That's the hard part. Is there's not really many options that you'd want to go to from Chase that you haven't already got or aren't going onto a buy as well. So that's the problem that I think a lot of people will be facing. He's 21.5 mil this week. You can use that to get to anyone. He's the most expensive wide receiver in the game, which is a good thing. It means you can make money on anyone. But as we said, the problem is going down to a good option is less. So hopefully someone hasn't got an Amon-Ra or JSN or Puka. And to what you said, those points, those scores, they're pretty much the safe floor scores for these guys. The 28s, 27s, they don't kill you any weeks. But yeah, we'll talk Wednesday, Mal. We'll get to a decision for you on what to do regarding Chase. But who's your wide receiver rate? Who's your second bench receiver?
I've got Tet and Roma Dunze. So it's a little bit shitty there.
You can play them. You can play them. The reality is, if you have 2 of them, it's fine because you can play those guys. Like they're playable. Rome's not going to do what he did every week this week. every week. And Tet can always, get plenty. So they're sort of fieldable. It's a tough one, but it looks like there's a pretty clear sort of 6 or 7 guys that we all really want. They've separated. Rice being back has really made it a 7, I think. That everyone would sort of want a combination of those. And it's a matter of how you get them best and how you maximize points next week while doing it.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate timing that 3 of the top guys are all on bye in the 1 week that we have to navigate around. A couple of other heartbreakers in the format. Tet McMillan, 13 points. He was a trade out last week. His break even, I think it was around this 13 heading into the week. So he's not really going to lose you too much cash, if anything. Roma Dunze, very luckily, had a DNP. He had, I think he had 3 targets, no catches, which is so surprising in this Bengals matchup. It was meant to be an absolute smash. I'll have to go back and watch the all 22 on this one to try and find out what's going on, but we can't expect that moving forward for Roma Dunte. He's still the number 1 for the Bears. Lad McConkey, Zay Flowers, 17 points for Zay, 15 for Lad McConkey. If you brought them in as that mid-range option, you'd be disappointed that they didn't get into the end zone. And DK Metcalf, 3 points here, Secko. He's the one that I do want to highlight and ask you what your panic meter is. They've got a nice schedule rest of the season. They needed to throw a lot of passes in this game, but DK just barely getting any love in this one. And with old man Aaron Rodgers, how do you feel about him moving forward?
Yeah, he is reliant on Aaron Rodgers games, and he does have those ones that he sort of just drops it a bit. The biggest concern is Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator. It's not. I remember if you go back remembering 2 years ago, where he was playing Algier over Bijan Robinson when he was the head coach of Atlanta for almost the entire year. Everyone really hated Arthur Smith, but what he's been known for is tight ends and making tight ends prominent and using them in a number of ways and using a number of tight ends at the same time. So what you see here is like Calvin Austin has the most yards in 556. Then the next is Washington. Is it Darnell?
Darnell, yep.
Big Darnell Washington, big tight end. Gainwell doesn't count. Fryermuth is next, 27 and a touchdown, and then Jonnu Smith's next. Three of the top 4 receivers were tight ends, and it's just gross. That's going to hurt almost anyone. Roman Wilson had 1 catch for 4, Metcalf 2 for 6. Jalen Warren had only 2 catches out of the backfield. Luckily, he scored twice. It's just one of those things that it feels like he's getting more and more into it. That Bengals game, they threw 4 touchdowns to tight ends. So, I feel like DK, if you've got him in SuperCoach, it's almost a must sell. Unfortunately, at this stage, because he's not going to have that. He might have ceiling games every now and then, but his floor is honestly 3, 5.
Absolute weak killing score from DK. And also Matthew Golden in terms of a must sell. He put up 3 points. Now dealing with that shoulder injury. If you've still got him there on your bench, get rid of him. He definitely does not have it, at least for this year. Tight ends, Tyler Warren, disappointing. And I was a bit surprised. I thought this spot might have been a bit of a smash, but Daniel Jones threw the ball 50 times in this one, and Tyler Warren only had 5 for 26. So that was pretty surprising. But again, that break even, he's probably one that you're looking to trade. They do have their bye in week 11. Aronde Gadsden came down to earth a little bit, but still 18 points for a tight end is pretty good. Tucker Kraft, we mentioned 6 points. Absolutely hate to see it. Cole Pitts, I didn't think you had this low score in him, but he put up 11. No, he's always pretty average. But George Kittle, Secko, probably the main name from this list to really highlight. He's got his bye in week 14. Mac Jones, hopefully this is his last start if Brock Purdy can get healthy, but who really knows what's going on there? Sounds like Shanahan doesn't really have any idea on timelines. I guess that's very similar to what he had with CMC last year. But how are you feeling about George Kittle and the rest of the tight ends in our heartbreakers for week 9?
Kittle's a concern. Mac Jones just is not 19 for 24. They take the ball out of his hands a lot. He's a pure game manager, and against a team like New York Giants, it's when you're 5-3, you can't afford to let one slip, and you just have to manage the game out and use your weapons. So that's McCaffrey on the ground. So if Purdy's in, I'm back in. I love Kittle rest of season. The buyer's not great. I can't trade him and Kraft though. So me personally, I'm going to be holding Kittle and hoping for better days. But if you haven't got Kraft, Kittle to Bowers might be a really good play now because he's past the buy, and you're missing Kittle later on. So it's probably going to be a big one on Wednesday, I think.
Yeah,
And,
we'll talk.
Warren, sorry, I forgot about Warren. I'll loop back around on Warren. I sort of mentioned it maybe only in passing on Wednesday to expect a lower one, and he was a high trade out option. I don't think it was sort of met. I don't think Mav agreed at the time, and you could have held him, but it was the first time his break even was high enough to justify dropping, and probably got lucky myself in the end getting it right on him. But yeah, either way, he's another great option to go to Bowers or McBride.
Yeah, we're gonna have some great tight end discussion on Wednesday's trade show. It's going to be a good one there. That's all the tight ends for the Heartbreakers. For the kickers, Tyler Loop, he only put up 8 points in terms of most owned kickers. They all kind of went okay, but yeah, Tyler Loop, again, if you started him, you're hurting. Defenses, there were a lot that were pretty average. The 49ers, Packers, Jags, and Chiefs all scored under 8 points in this one here. Again, the 49ers, I think their rookie first-round pick on the defensive side, I think it was torn Achilles or a season-ending injury that I saw. So their defense is just getting even more battered for the Niners. If you haven't traded them out yet, I would, because I think, this probably isn't their floor. Negatives probably is, given that's his defense. And I think it could be a nice little matchup to target as well moving forward, that 49ers defense with all the injuries. But any takeaways from you, Secko, on kickers and defenses that let us down this week?
It's good there wasn't too many, owned kickers that really shit the bed. Loop was highly traded out of their buy, I think, as well. So he's a bit lesser owned than he was going back a ways. But yeah, the defense, man, the 49ers are just horrid. But I really can't afford to lose money on trading them, and they're costing me probably 15 to 20 points a week. But so be it. It sucks. I might just put the Cardinals in now. I think they're past their buy for now, and I'll just ride them out for the rest of the hope they can get one or two. But yeah, Packers are a weird one as well. Packers have looked good. They look good on paper. They're a really good defense on paper, but they're not necessarily a good scoring defense for fantasy or SuperCoach. So one of those really bit of an enigma. And then the Chiefs playing in Orchard Park. Buffalo is never going to be a really good spot, but in this format, it's almost who you've got sometimes, and you're probably going to only use one or two trades for the whole year on a defense, which sucks.
Yeah, it does. But that's all the time that we need to spend on kickers and defenses. Because again, same with our trade shows, not really a key thing that we want to talk about. Like you said with 49ers, you can even just leave them on the bench if you want to, save a trade if you've got a starting, and if other people are in the same situation with that. But we will close this show out very shortly. Thanks heaps for all the comments, everybody. If you do have any questions, please throw them in the YouTube comment below. And if you are watching on YouTube, smash that like button, hit that subscribe, and also ring that bell, and you'll be notified when we are dropping shows each week. And we're 6 shows a week at the moment currently, and that won't slow down at least for the foreseeable future. So make sure to stay in tune there. But Secko, as we close out the week 9, which it was, we will recap the final game of the week in tomorrow's waiver show. But I mean, just final takeaways, little early looks for week 10 that you're keen to put the week behind us and start looking in a more shining light.
The biggest thing is the bye week. It's sort of, we had that big bye week last week in week 8 with Monra, Puka, JSN all gone. This week is 3 more massive receivers. Chase who I've got before, Chase, Lamb, and Rice, all on bye. So you can't have all 3 of them. Like, you couldn't have all 3 of them last year going into this week. It just hurt you too much having one short in that position as well, I think. So yeah, some decisions to be made going in, which we'll cover on Wednesday, and we'll get everyone primed and ready for for week 10, which is unbelievable. It's week 10, but here we are.
Yeah, I can't believe it. We're halfway through the season, or the NFL season, with week 9 just about to a close. How do you feel, Secko, before we close out? Top scorer, CD McBride. Who do you think top scores, and what do you think their points are kind of around? I'll throw that one at you as a little throwing the dart, because this is the highest implied point total that we had for this week. I think it was at 54.5. So there should be a monster amount of points flying around in this one. But do you think CD or McBride can top score? And where do you think you can kind of project if you get your crystal ball out?
Yeah, so this is one of those, these like prime fantasy matchups where both defenses have been pretty ordinary, very ordinary. And was I right? Is Jacoby Brissett starting?
He is, yeah. And that was
So
confusing too.
they've benched
Yeah.
Kyler. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've benched Kyler, which is great for fantasy and it's great for McBride. He actually looks for McBride in the end zone because Kyler can't see over the line to see McBride. So, I'm going to go with McBride here, mate. I'm going to go. I almost brought him in over Kraft, but the my guy Love really pushed me in. I got lulled into it. I almost wanted to avoid him so I wouldn't jinx him into an ACL. But McBride to have 50 plus. He may even get close to Bowers. He'll score twice. He'll have 10 plus. So it's 10 plus is 20, 120 is another 24, 44, and 2 is, what am I doing? 24, 44, 68. He'll have 68 points. I said he will be close.
It's a big call. But yeah, you're right with Brissett coming in. It's looks to be better production for the receivers, which is, just mind-boggling. Maybe Kyler gets dealt after this week. You just don't know. I'm hoping for CD. I hope he throws up a big 69-pointer. That's my guess there. But again, we will be back tomorrow to recap that final game and see how it all goes. We'll also have our top waiver options to hopefully get us through these just amount of injuries that just keep racking up. I know we are getting later in the year, but I guess probably just wishful thinking, hopefully that they kind of stop at some point, but they just don't. That's the volatility of the NFL. That's the roller coaster that we all ride in. But thanks for tuning in tonight, everyone, on our Monday review and recovery through SuperCoach. And we'll be back tomorrow night as per usual to do it all again and close out week 9. Thanks heaps.
Goodbye.